Now see, there is a next topic on your third unit. This study magnetic fields produced by current carrying conductor. So under this topic I am going to discuss about three configurations, that is H bar due to straight conductor of finite length, and H bar due to infinite long straight conductor, and H bar on the axis of circular loop. These three are the very important derivations for your examination point of view. So now let me explain about the magnetic field intensity due to straight conductor of a finite length. Okay, now all of you listen carefully. Okay, now see, to derive the magnetic field intensity due to straight conductor of finite length, let us use any coordinate system. So I am using, firstly I am using x comma, see here I will write here, I will draw the diagram here. I will draw x comma y comma z axis. This is my z axis and it is y axis and x axis. X comma y comma z axis. These three axes are mutually perpendicular to each other in the Cartesian coordinate system. Now place your finite length of conductor on the z axis. Place your finite length of conductor on the z axis like this. This is my finite length of conductor. This is my finite length of conductor. Okay, so the length of the conductor is z, and if you place this your finite length of conductor in such a way that the bottom end and top end entire length of the conductor on the positive z axis. So that's why, so it is having small z1 units from the origin. This is the small z1 units from the origin, and the bottom end is having a z2 unit distance from the origin. Okay, now imagine that if this conductor is carrying I amount of current, what will happen? It produces the magnetic field around it like this, entire the magnetic field. Okay, now at any point on the magnetic field line we are going to calculate the field intensity. Let us consider point P on the y axis and just here draw a dotted lines between bottom end of the conductor and point P, and let us consider it is making an angle alpha 1 with respect to the y axis, and similarly top end of the conductor is this one, and it is just consider it is making an angle alpha 2 with respect to the y axis, and consider a small differential elemental length. Consider small differential elemental length on the conductor like this. This is my small differential elemental length on the conductor, and it is dl. Okay, now and imagine that this is small z unit distance, from the origin. Okay, now also draw or indicate the distance between differential elemental length and point P, and it is making an angle alpha with respect to the y axis. Okay, now see, as here we have considered the differential elemental length, the magnetic field intensity produces at this point is also differential one. It is dH bar, differential magnetic field intensity. So now according to Biot-Savart's law, we can calculate the differential magnetic field intensity at point P. According to Biot-Savart's law, dH bar equals to, what is the formula for Biot-Savart's law? It is I dl bar cross A r bar by 4 pi r square. This is a general expression for Biot-Savart's law. Okay, so now according to this formula, we need to calculate the distance between differential elemental length and point P, where r is the distance between, r bar, distance vector is r bar. It is the distance between differential elemental length and point P, and ar bar is the unit vector which is along the distance vector, and it should be downwards. Why? Because we are calculating the field intensity at point P due to this element, so that's why it should be downwards. Okay, and it is represented with a r bar. Okay, if you consider it is location 1 and it is already sorry, I will consider it is a 2. Okay, so as the distance is between 1 comma 2 points location, I will represent this unit vector with r a r12. Okay, and it is r12. Okay, now see and imagine that if you consider the cylindrical coordinate system, this point 2 is our unit distance from the origin and it is in the direction of AR bar. Okay, now what about this direction? It is having z unit distance from the origin and it is in the AZ direction, as it is a differential element length, and it is dl bar is equal to dz times of AZ bar. Differential vector length is, as it is on the z axis, we should represent the magnitude with dz and unit vector. Now dl bar is over, I got dl bar value. And what about r12? R12 bar is the distance between dl and 2. See, if I take it separately here, this is my location 1 and it is my origin and it is point 2 and it is the distance between r12 and it is in this direction. Az bar is in this direction and r into ar bar is in this direction. Now see, to add the resultant vector to get the r12 bar, these two vectors should be in the same direction. So but unfortunately we don't have these two vectors in the same direction, so that's why we need to change the direction of one component. That means I am changing the z into az bar direction by changing the direction for arrow with a negative sign. Okay, so that we can add these two vectors like this. A bar if it is A and if it is B, A bar and B bar in the same direction, so that's why this r12 bar is equal to minus z into az bar plus r into AR bar is the distance vector. So once you get the distance vector, so it is easy to calculate the unit vector. It is r12 bar is equals to ratio of distance vector to the unit vector, r12 magnitude. Okay, now see what is r12 bar here? A r12 bar is equals to minus z into az bar plus r into AR bar by, this is the magnitude of r12 bar, this under root of z square or minus z square plus r square. It is the ar12 bar. Now calculate the numerator in the dh bar. If you consider it as equation 1, from equation 1 the numerator term is I dl bar cross ar12 bar. It is the cross product between dl bar and ar12. Can you calculate the cross product in the determinant form? Cross product will be calculated in the determinant form like this. Is equals to see, so which type of coordinate system we have considered here? This cylindrical coordinate system. In the cylindrical coordinate system, the unit vectors are AR bar, A5 bar and this AZ bar. First row elements. Second row is the differential vector length. What is the differential vector length here? It is 0, 0 and it is in the direction of dz. So that's why it is dz, and here ar12 bar. So as there is a constant here, that is I, so I times r. And see, in ar12 bar, there is ar12. See, in this ar12 bar, I have a denominator term. I am writing the denominator separately to make the simplifications easy. So that is z square plus r square. And what are the constant here? And it is minus z. Minus z is in the direction of z axis and it is 0. There is no phi component in the numerator term and there is a component in the r direction, that is AR bar. Okay, now it is equals to I by under root of z square plus r square, determinant AR bar, first row first element. If you remove the first row first element, AD minus BC is 0. Next minus A5 bar, second row second element. So it is A5 bar minus R into dz. Next plus AZ bar, last row element, it is 0. Okay, so finally what we will get? It is I times of R dz by under root of R square plus Z square into S pi A5 bar is there. This is numerator. Okay, so now substitute this numerator in the equation 1. So I r dz, I r dz by by under root of, tell me, r square plus z square a phi bar is the numerator, whole divided by denominator is what, 4 pi times of magnitude of r1 square. What is the magnitude of r1 square? It is z square plus r square whole square. Square gets cancelled here. Okay, so that's why dh bar is equal to I r times of dz by, so it is a numerator 1 here and it is 1 by 2, so that's why finally we get 4 pi times of r square plus z square whole power 3 by 2 a pi bar. Okay, so now you need h bar only, not d bar, so that's why you need to do the integration on both sides. If you do the integration on both sides from limits, what are the limits from z1 to z1, you will get the h bar. So h bar is equals to, now what are the constant here? Okay, fine, later I will write here, z1 and z2 I r dz divided by 4 pi times of r square plus z square whole power 3 by 2 into a phi bar, whole power 3 by 2 into a phi bar. Okay, now do the integration. The substitution method. Do the integration substitution method. See, do the integration, the substitution method. How will you do the integration here? So by considering, or let z is equal to r tan alpha. Okay, if z is equal to r tan alpha, what about z1? Z1 is equal to r1, z1 is equal to r only, r tan alpha 1, z2 is equal to r tan alpha 2. If z1 is equal to r tan alpha 1, what about alpha 1? It is tan inverse of z1 by r, and here it is alpha 2 is equals to tan inverse of z2 by alpha. Okay, now substitute all these values in this equation. Tell me now, h bar is equals to integration. So as the limits of changes from z to alpha 1, so it is alpha 1 to alpha 2 I r c. As z is equal to, if z is equal to r tan alpha, what about dz? R secant square alpha d alpha. Okay, so what is there in the numerator here? I r dz means r secant square alpha d alpha by 4 pi times of r square plus z square means what here? Z means r tan alpha, so that's why r square tan square alpha whole power 3 by 2 times of a phi bar. So it is alpha 1 to alpha 2 I r square secant square alpha d alpha by square alpha d alpha by 4 pi times of r square is the common here. If you take the r square common, then 1 plus tan square alpha is remaining term. 1 plus tan square is secant square alpha. So whole power 3 by 2 times of a phi bar. So now do the next step here. Alpha to alpha, it is I r square secant square alpha d alpha whole divided by, it is there here 4 pi, and it is like ab whole power m. If you have ab whole power m, you can do like this, a power m b power m. Similarly here I have r square and whole power 3 by 2, and here secant square alpha power 3 by 2 a phi bar. So here cancel square root here and square root here. Okay, so that's why it is equals to alpha 1 to alpha 2, and here see 2 r's is there, 2 r's cancel, secant square alpha is there, 1 secant square alpha there, so that's why I by 4 pi or secant alpha into a pi bar, and d alpha is there, d alpha. So alpha 1 to alpha 2, I by 4 pi r is the constant one, which is equals to I by 4 pi r is the constant one. 1 by secant is there, 1 by secant is cos alpha d alpha a pi bar. What is the cos of integration of cos now? 4 pi r integration of, is it sin or minus sin? Sin alpha. So integration of sin alpha, limits are from alpha 1 to alpha 2 a pi bar. Okay, now h bar is equals to I by 4 pi r times of sin alpha 2 minus sin alpha 1 into a pi bar is the expression for magnetic field intensity due to straight conductor of finite length if the entire length of conductor is the positive z axis. Okay, suppose if the entire length of the conductor is in the negative z axis, like this, if your entire length of the conductor is in the negative z axis, like this, see, if your entire length of the conductor is in the negative z axis and you are required to calculate the field intensity at this point, now in such case you just consider the alpha 1 and it is alpha 2 and it is alpha 2. So here in this case you said you use the same formula, but you just take the alpha 1 positive value and alpha 1 is negative value, alpha 2 is also negative value. Use the same formula, you just take the use the negative signs, that's it. And last case is, this is second case, and final case is, case 3 is, so if your conductor is placed on the z axis in such a way that half of the length in the positive z axis and half of the length in the negative z axis, so in this case the magnetic field intensity is alpha 1 and it is alpha 2. Alpha 1 will be considered as a positive value and alpha 2 is the negative value. Okay, so now, so with this the magnetic field intensity due to finite length of conductor is over. Okay, thank you.